Are you really as broken as you think you are? Are those past? Does your past seem to always be holding you back? Well, what if I told you you weren't broken at all? That's what we're going to be talking about this week on Relaxed Mel. Hello and welcome to Relaxed Mel, podcast that helps men change their relationship with themselves. I am your host, Brian, and I am a men's life and mindset coach who is here to help you understand that you don't have to suffer at your own expense. You can live your dream, and I encourage you to set, then pursue your goals. So join me as I change the mindset and attitudes of men so that they can be the leaders of their families and their destinies. Hey man, hello and welcome to Relaxed Mel. All right, so today we're going to be talking about your past events and past life experiences and how we misinterpret a lot of the lessons, and we actually start trying to define ourselves by those past events. And so we're going to be really diving into that. But before we actually do, I wanted to jump into the question of the week. The question of the week, if you are interested in actually being read and having your question read and answered on the podcast, all you have to do is go to relaxedmel.com/contact and you can fill out the form, ask a question, and I will answer it in the order that they come in. If you would rather just shoot an email over to me, you can do so by sending it to Brian with a Y at relaxedmel.com, and I get that whenever I receive that. I will answer that question and let you know how I would approach that particular problem. So today's question didn't have anybody send anything in. So again, I like to dive over into core. It's full of nothing but questions. And so I go through and try to answer one or two a week or so. And this one here kind of dives back into last week's question, but I won't go into it as deeply as what I did last 2 weeks. Because if you want to really go into it, you've got 2 hours of episode to listen to. So anyhow, this week's question was, why don't fathers cry? And I replied with them in this fashion. And it's, in all reality, fathers do cry. We, as men, have emotions. We all have emotions. We all experience emotions. We all feel them. The reason that we often are not seen as crying is because as men, we are naturally set up to have a level of stoicism. Now, we can take stoicism a little down too far, and I'll get into that here just in a couple moments. But many times as men, we are looked at being the leaders of the family. Men are just naturally set to exhibit stoicism. And this isn't us not feeling, but we actually understand that there are times and places for us to actually process our emotions. And we will actually process those emotions in a place, I'm not going to say safe place, but in a time and in a place where we are able to do so. A lot of times we may be off to ourselves and we'll think about what happened, and we'll process those events. Other times we'll turn to our wives, and we'll if we have a crying sensation come upon us, we will turn to our wives, and we look to our wives as men for our emotional support. And that's just part of marriage, is we support each other. And a lot of times we do turn to our wives for stuff, and we get our encouragement and our rahs from our significant other. But also, as leaders of the household, we don't cry at the drop of a hat, because it can actually upset the members of our family. We want them to know that they have a strong and steady foundation to lean upon. Now, somebody can actually turn to other people for support. And that's what guys do in general. I mean, we don't just have our wives. We also have our inner circle of friends. And those are our really close friends. There's usually one or two guys that we can go to. And if we're struggling with something, or if we know that they've experienced a problem where, like, if they had their father died, or their mom died, or God forbid, lost a child, they can actually look to those people and get advice. And if, emotion wells up, we know that we can be vulnerable to those. A lot of times we are not going to display our vulnerability to people we don't trust. And that's men and women both. Women are not going to sit there and cry around somebody they feel are going to be attacked for feeling emotional. But also let this guy, the person who asked the question, know that you really don't want a father who cries for just because. That'll actually cause them to put the dad's leadership abilities actually into question. It's like, good grief, my dad cries all the time. He's a big tit bag. I mean, what's up with this? And dad cries when a dad cries, it's a lot of times it's more out of frustration. Yeah, there is sadness, there's mourning, grieving, and other times we are sad and we experience those emotions. Like I said, all men do. And so, but in the heat of a battle, in the heat of a moment when there's a lot of emotion flying around, you're not going to see a guy typically just make a snap decision in the emotion. Well, correction, you will, I have, we all have, but a lot of times we try not to, because when you make a decision on anything, you're going to wind up having fallout, especially when you're making a decision using the emotions as a grounds of deciding. Now, you can make a decision on something, but if you hold off, say even 24 hours, let that emotion simmer back down and cool off, and you try to re-examine that same problem again, you'll see a lot of the flaws in your thinking. And I actually recommend people, if they're going to make a snap decision because, someone cut them off or someone looked at them funny, okay, you want to go tell them off? Well, give it 2 hours. And then if you still feel like you need to go tell them off, then okay, you're going to do so, but be prepared for the consequences of that action. Now, there are issues where not only men, but women, when it comes to emotions, we do something that will use a type of coping mechanism. Now, this could be anything to help buffer and shove away the emotion. Now, those aren't always, typically those are very negative feeling emotions. Feeling scared, feeling vulnerable, feeling upset about something, anything that you have that's not a good, bright, bubbly feeling. It's something, it's kind of more on the negative side of an emotion. We do turn to different coping mechanisms. Now, a lot of people think, oh yeah, that's alcohol. Men will turn to alcohol and drink all the time. Well, yeah, a lot of men will. A lot of women do too. But there's also several others, and this is not a comprehensive list, but there's just, people who overeat. They're overeating because they are avoiding, they're resisting, they're trying to dampen down emotions that they are having. Maybe they are not happy with the way they look, so they just say, screw it, I'm going to eat more. There are, like I said, alcohol, the drugs, and it's even workaholics are a lot of times men who are able to push the unwanted emotions away about something. Maybe they're having problems at the house. Maybe they're having financial problems. So the best thing they think of doing is not to address what their wife's fears are and deal with the messiness of an emotional breakdown because, their mom died or your mom died or something like that. Those times actually, some guys will actually turn to work and get lost in their work and spend hours upon hours upon hours being a hard worker, not for the enjoyment of the work that they're doing, but they're doing it as a means of not letting that particular negative emotion have a chance to live its life. And emotions actually have a very short lifespan. So live its life and experience it and realize that it's not going to kill them. Now, if they do have those types of unhealthy crutches, a lot of times it's actually good for them to go out and get some type of counseling. Or maybe they realize, hey, I need to get away from this. I want to get step away from it. You can, if you don't want counseling, you can do coaching. You can Relaxed Male is a great place to have coaching done if you are wanting to have some type of coaching and getting out of a particular crutch. Now, so all humans themselves are actually completely different. So, and that's one of the beauties of human nature. Yeah, we are, when it comes to the emotions, we can be such a hot mess, and we make decisions depending on our emotional state. And as I've said before, depending on what the circumstance is, your thoughts cause your emotions. And when those emotions create the actions that create our results. And so we try as humans in general to fight off those times when we believe we don't need the emotions, when the emotions are the colors to our memories. That's actually what we remember. We remember the emotions. We remember seeing how horrible it was that we went to that camping trip and set up camp in a field of stinging nettles, and no one could go walk around outside, get close to the tent without the ankles turning to fire. Those things where, yeah, at the time we were miserable, but we look back and we all get to laugh, and that's part of the fun. That's like I said, that's the color of our memories, are the emotions. And so you don't want to run from emotions, but they're always they're always wonderful to have. So, but to wrap that up, I actually told the person who asked the questions, and I responded with this: humans are so different when it comes to the emotions. And though you may want to see your dad show that his fragile side is actually there, he is also wanting you to know that he can be trusted and to stand firm in the storms of life that come rushing through. So don't fret if you don't see your dad cry. I bet you've actually seen your dad display other emotions. He may have been grumpy. He may have joked. He may have had a laugh or two. You've seen him be tender with your mom. He's been tender. He's seen him listen and take in what you've said. There's a lot of times that we see all these other emotions, but we discredit them because we're so focused in on what he's not doing. It's not showing emotions. He's not crying. Well, but he's doing other things. He is being emotional. He's being an emotional human, as we all are. He may just not be showing the emotion that you would like for him to show. So I told him, wrapped it up with, so hug him and love him for the flawed human that he is. And that's what we all are. We're all flawed humans. We have our emotions get in the way. We fear those types of emotions. And so we don't want the bad ones. We want nothing but good. But life is, 50-50, 50% pain, 50% pleasure. So now let's get on to the main topic, which has been titled, You're Not Broken. Now, a lot of times, so many of us actually take life and we look at it through the rearview mirror. Now, if you've ever driven, which I'm sure you have, or if you've been in a car, you realize that rearview mirror that's in the middle of the windshield is just a little bit thing, maybe 6 inches long by probably 2-3 inches tall. That's a little bitty space for you to see behind you. But yet the window in front of you is this great big huge sheet of glass. And there's a reason for that. Yeah, you have things that happen behind you, but you don't drive. So there's a reason why our windshields are so much larger. And because of that, that's why there's a reason why our rearview mirrors are so small. It's important. It matters, but it's more important as to address what is in front of you, what's happening right now. So as people, we have a problem of defining ourselves by our past. And I could look at when I was growing up and when I was a young adult and all the dumb things I did that nowadays does not define who I am today. I could look and see that I was, a scoundrel because, there's a couple times I cheated on a girlfriend. There's times that I lied to my girlfriends, which cheating is a form of lying. And I used to try to keep a good portion of my life very secret. And because of that, I could I could look back on how I was back then and say I was this horrible, horrible person. And I could allow myself to be a victim to those events that happened to me and the events that were there. And I could get myself trapped into the past and think that I was a broken person. And in all reality, that's not true. We're not broken. Yeah, we fall into the trap of looking into the past, focusing on the past, thinking that we're not good managers. We're never going to become a person of management if you're like me. I had a moment where I was able to be kind of in a managerial position, and it lasted 2 months. I ended up self-sabotaging it to where I couldn't. I could actually look at that and go, dude, I suck at managing. I'm not a leader. I can't lead people. I wasn't even able to hold a managerial position for longer than 2 or 3 months. So we get ourselves caught in this trap of looking into the rearview mirror, and it's not productive, and it really doesn't serve us. You may have had a horrible childhood. You may have had parents that emotionally abused you. You may have had parents who were just, in all instances, very controlling and didn't allow you to do anything that you wanted to. I could easily have said, blame my stepmother for the lack of my economic and financial abilities because I wasn't able to couldn't hold on to money when I was growing up. I could look at that and go, well, I'm a horrible person. No, she did what she did, but I now know that we're still as a teenager that you're going to blow your money. And so she was doing something in what she thought as the best way to help ensure that the money didn't fly out of my hand. I could come up with, there's so many experiences that we've had in our past where we're not, if we look at it and we focus in on what those pasts are, we can try to define ourselves. And so many of us do. You may hear someone who introduces themselves as, hi, I'm so-and-so. And shortly within the introduction, they're letting you know, hey, I'm a victim of some type of abuse. And yes, I'm not saying abuse is a good thing, but it is a horrible, terrible thing that happens to us. Yet we don't have to let that define us. We can take the lessons that we learned from that and become a better person. And if you understand that, yeah, you experienced that tragedy, you experienced that horrible event, it does not define you. It doesn't make you a horrible person. It doesn't make you the pariah that you want to view yourself as. Yeah. And even if you live in a small town and something happens and your people, look at you a little differently for a while, eventually those thoughts fade away. The way that they act, they realize that, hey, you're still who you are. You're growing, you're developing, you're becoming. But and I always like to look back on The Lion King, Rafiki, the baboon shaman of the tribe, and when he's talking to Simba and Simba is looking at himself as this horrible person because he blames himself for the death of his father. And Rafiki says, takes his staff and whacks, Simba on the head. And Simba asks, oh, what'd you do that for? And it's like, what does it matter? It's in the past. It's like, yeah, but Simba's very poignant part of that was, yeah, it still hurts though. And yeah, there's going to be pain in that. Our life is pain. Our life is pleasure. It's 50% pain, 50% pleasure. As I said earlier, we all have these experiences, and we can take those experiences, and we don't have to define ourselves by them. We can learn from those experiences. We can allow ourselves, if we take responsibility of the fact that we experienced those, and we own that experience, but don't let it define us. Just let it be a learning instance from that, you can actually see that you're not as broken and damaged, and you're not damaged goods. You're a human who is learning. You're a human who is becoming, and you're developing into a stronger and better person. And you lived the life you were meant to live, which sounds really weird, especially for someone who has gone through, some type of traumatic event, some type of horrible. A lot of people will push back on that. Go, what? You say I was supposed to have that mental anguish? Well, yeah, because of it, you are more experienced in that area. And so you're able to actually help other people to get over that particular barrier. But so many times we tell ourselves these stories of, this is because of this, I am a bad person. Because of that, I'm no good because of who I am. And you're defining who you are by what your past is, as opposed to defining yourself as to who you could be. So, but you can change, especially if you sit there and you see yourself as a damaged person. You can take those instances. There's a great book called What Does Not Kill Us. And it's talking about PTSD. And it's not, the author redefines it as not post-traumatic stress, it's post-traumatic growth. And you can take those traumatic instances, those things that you view as being a broken person, and you can actually incorporate that into your life, and it shows that how much stronger you are. What is her name? I think her name is Christina or Christy Ennis, was a great example of that. I heard her over on Jocko Willink's podcast. And she was a kind of a tomboy for a long while, and she joined the army and went overseas to fight in, I think, Afghanistan or in Iraq, either one of those places overseas. And she ended up getting into a helicopter crash, which destroyed a leg, and actually even took the butt of her gun and rammed it up against her chin so hard that it actually peeled her skin, the skin and all the underlying tissue back, and just disfigured her. And she, for a long time, because of all the trauma that happened in that, she ended up losing a leg and was able to get the reconstructive surgery. But she now is so much stronger because of it. She's taken that experience and she's grown from it, and she's taken charge of what her destiny is, instead of letting the past control her. So if you take responsibility for your actions, and you take your choices, and you look back upon what you've done, and you can easily step back and say, well, I'm this way because of that. And no, you're this way because you made those two particular choices. And if you own those choices and you decide, all right, I'm done playing that particular game, and you make a conscious effort and you start going to getting counseling, getting coaching to actually get all that done, you can become a stronger, better person, where you're able to help people who help other people. So anyhow, you can change. As I've mentioned before, you can change. You can become a better person. You become a different person. You can be who you want to be. Their changes are always possible. All you have to do is want to make those changes, and understand that those changes as to what you think of yourself are just that, the thoughts of who you are. Those thoughts of you being a horrible person doesn't match up to what anybody else thinks. And so the emotions that you're fighting against, the sensations, the emotions, the regret, the fear, the shame, the fragility that you are feeling inside are just your emotions. They're not who you are. They're not anything about who, what, when, or why you are the way you are, other than you chose to make those. You made those decisions, and if you own that, then you take the victim mindset and you end up throwing it away, and you become the super person that you are meant to be. So, all right. If you need if you want to be able to start making some changes in your life, you want to start being able to have a more fulfilled life, one that where you're able to grab life by the horns and you're able to live life to its fullest. Those are things that can be done. And so, and through coaching and through groups. And if you are interested in joining either one, having a coaching session with me, or if you want to join up with a mastermind group and have the guys in the conclave of men be able to help you and be able to build you up and show you that you're not as broken as you think you are, then I would encourage you to go over to relaxedmale.com and to join join the conclave of men. Or if you want to have a little one-on-one coaching sessions, I've got some packages that are available that you can look at and give you an option that fits you. And we can do that by just going over to relaxedmale.com, and at the top you'll see either Working with Brian or the conclave links, and follow those, and you can start taking those hard steps that will lead you to the life that you want. All right. So anyhow, I'm going to close this up, and men, I want to thank you very much for listening. A lot shorter this time, I know. And so thank you again for listening. If you have any questions, you want to ask the question of the week, again, go to relaxedmale.com/contact and fill out the form, or go to shoot an email, Brian with a Y at relaxedmale.com, and ask a question, and I'll happily answer it on the show. If you are listening to this on iTunes through an iPhone or iPad or any type of Apple device, please go over to Apple iTunes and give a rating and review. It's not that it gets me up higher in the ratings, but it gives the people who do find me and are curious about the show the social credentials needed to let them know that, hey, this is a good show. It is being cranked out on a regular basis. And hey, I've got several different ratings that help, and it helps people to see whether I'm a good show, a good fit for them or not. If you are on any other platform, if you're on a iPhone, or not iPhone, or even if you are on iPhone, and if you are on any device and you want to leave a rating or review, another way that you can do so is by going to relaxedmale.com/podchaser. That's PODCHASER. That will actually take you over to the my Podchaser page, and there you can leave a rating and review for Podchaser, and that's kind of an IMDb of podcasting, and it's a really cool system they have set up there, and it also helps people to find new shows. So and decide if they want to listen to the Relaxed Male. I'm still wanting to grow the community. So if you have questions, ask them. I'd love to answer them. Join us over on Facebook. We've got all our social links there too. So over at Relaxed Male also. So, all right, I'm babbling now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let you go. I hope y'all have a great week, and know that your life is awesome, and it's only going to get better from here. So until next week, men, take care. Bye.